Hello, hello, hello. I'm Minister William Edward Turner, and I wanted to welcome everyone to our first day of pre-engagement basics. And I hope everyone has their workbook with them because that's where we're going to begin. And hopefully you pulled it down. Hopefully you will be able to uh, be here with us. And I'm trying to see who's online with me. Says, I'm not sure who's online, but there we are. There we are. Hello. Okay. Once again, we're kind of having a soft start here. And as I said, I'm Minister William Edward Turner, and this is the pre-engagement basics group. And what I'm dealing with and what we're talking about today, and the reason that we have pre-engagement basics is, as you might have heard or you might have discovered that through the videos and ads that I had up, that I am what I call a serial divorcee. That means I've been divorced more than once. Matter of fact, this is one of the reasons why I do pre-engagement coaching, because as I look back, there were things that I wish I knew before I got married. And also, one of the things that I found is that marriage has a lot to do with everything but I'm in love. Yeah. Because a lot of times it's the giving of you. And that's why we were dealing with the questions that I mentioned to you that I wanted you to go over when you pull down the workbook. And we're going to jump right to that section of the questions because that is extremely crucial to us. Okay, so it's if you're in your workbook, it's after the page that says self-examination session 1. And after that page, it starts with pre-engagement coaching. Why are you getting into a relationship? And a lot of these things, yes, they're worldly, but there are spiritual elements to them. One is I have because I'm lonely. Now, when you're lonely, sometimes we make unwise decisions, make changes and sacrifices in our life that are not necessary. And as it happens is that we destroy our boundaries. We would not let someone in your life on a normal basis. It's kind of like you just want somebody to fill up that space in your life, that thing that was going on with you. You want someone to make you happy, which is the next question. Do you want someone to make you happy? Well, realize this, that no one can make you happy. Only God can satisfy you, and He gives you joy. Happiness is a temporary state from the things in your life. It's just like you're happy when you get that new Lexus. You're happy when you get that new house. You're happy, I always say, until the payment comes. But really, even after the payment comes, you might be happy. But in year 3 of the payment, It's just the car, it's just the house, uh, and that happiness is wore off. And you just can't keep buying things and producing things. One of the other things, number three, I don't want to have sex outside of marriage. Yes, sex outside of marriage. Uh, you want to be married and you want to be uh, right about it under God's directive that sex is only for married couples, uh, but you don't want to have sex outside of marriage. So that's the reason why you want a relationship. That's the reason why you want to get married. And you'll find later on that uh, sex in a marriage sometimes, and I've talked to lots of people and dealt with people and even semi experienced some where sex becomes a weapon in the relationship, as well as sex becomes you don't have time for it. You're tired, you're wore out doing the business and activities of being in a relationship. And sometimes the sex thing that you thought you were going to have, just roll over and get it, or they can roll over on me and get it, however that was going to work, that I have the freedom to do it, I'm not bogged down, is not a great reason to get into a relationship, especially if you're going into a relationship from marriage, because it's a temporary feeling, that sex. And yes, it feels good. Yes, you feel satisfied. But that only lasts a little while. Uh, I don't want to feel like uh, let's see, I don't want to feel like I'm worth anything. I don't. Not that I don't want to. I don't feel like I'm worth anything to anybody. And having somebody who says, oh, I care for you, oh, this, that, and the other, no matter how many thousands of times they say they care for you and I believe in you, if you don't believe in yourself, you're not going to feel worthy or feel that you have a worth to anybody. So that worth has got to come from inside first. I need someone to care for me. And that kind of backs up into the same thing about worth, is that as somebody cares for you, takes care of you, help you get things together, uh, we become dependent upon that person and dependent. And sometimes dependency can be manipulated. So you get manipulated in the dependency. Uh, as he said, yes, yes, uh, Evelyn Grace, Elder Grace, no one can make you happy. You are absolutely correct. I want someone to share my life with. Now, this is a statement that I also often see uh, with on what is it, the dating sites, and I see it on the dating sites. I want someone to share my life with, and it's like, uh, do you really want to share your life? Because oftentimes, as you read further down, you see that they don't want this and they don't want that and they don't want this. And if you're this, don't call me. You know, don't tweet me or send me a message or something like that. It's kind of uh, as you look at things about sharing your life, it's more than just being there and doing the fun things. That sharing your life means sharing the bad, the good, the bad, and the ugly. You know, when you wake up and your mustache is all twisted, or you wake up and your hair is looking like uh, uh, Don King uh, needing a hairdo, you know, those kind of things. It happens. And sharing your life involves a lot more. And I'm going to talk about that as we move on to the next section. But let us finish this session, this particular segment first of this section. There's an emptiness inside. And that's the thing, is nobody can make you happy. There's a song that says the emptiness inside you is the only thing that can fill that is God. And that emptiness inside you has to be filled with God, with your relationship with God. As I was thinking, and I'm definitely a serial divorcer, and in that, it's like I was in love with the just being in love, desiring to have that relationship, to be filled and fill that emptiness. And as I found out later, is that only God can fill that emptiness, not somebody else, not some different things. You know, you buy this, you buy that, you have this, you have that, and you're still feeling empty. Uh, the other is because those who get married live longer. That's debatable because oftentimes there's violence and, as they say, domestic violence. And sometimes you're married, and if the person is getting on your nerves, and if you're getting on your own nerves because you realize you compromise to meet some of those other things, to have somebody in the bed next to you, to look like all the other couples. Uh, God said marriage is good. Yes, God did say that. That's number 9. God did say that. But marriage is good, but as he also said, don't be unequally yoked. You know, and one of the things when we think about being unequally yoked, we think about being a Christian, but it's more than being a Christian. It's like you're unequally yoked if you're both Christian and one is a missionary to foreign countries and the other one is a missionary to the urban areas of the city. You're both missionaries, but you're not going to see each other too much because it's going to be a strain on your relationship. And yeah, marriage is good, but it takes two. It's a partnership. It's a thing of bringing unity together. It's a mixing of oil and water with the Holy Spirit being the egg that makes it that delicious mayonnaise that spreads its love across the land. And that's part of another book on relationships and how relationships fit together. Because without the Holy Spirit in the middle of the relationship, that relationship is on a rocky path. I need some financial support. That's the other one. I need some financial support. Now, you might need it and you might feel that I need this better. But oftentimes, when it's a need like that, you're feeling needy, the other person feels needy, that you are needy. They may be tired of you being needy or acting needy or saying needy things, and you will end up being manipulated. You'll end up being at their whim of when you can buy something, when you can do this, when you can do that, when you can go to the store. They get a new car, but you don't get a new car because they are the one with the dollars. That falls into the next category of sugar daddy or sugar mama, you know. And when you look at those things, you find that I need a sugar daddy or sugar mama. You're just asking to be manipulated. And the sugar daddy and sugar mama is nice always in the beginning. They took me out, they bought me this, or she bought me this, and she got me new suits, or all those kind of things. And I'm driving this nice car now, but later on, that control is going to come in. And later on, it'll be manipulation where they don't provide like you hope they would provide. And then you're left out. Your skills are probably even discounted in the situation. You know, as they say, I'm taking care of you. I need help with my finances. Now, help with your finances. And one of the things that you notice this, it's all I need, I need, I need, I need. I need this. Throughout this thing, it's about what you need, and you haven't considered what the other person needs. And when you have help managing your finances, sometimes it's better to get an accountant than get a partner, because oftentimes that does not work well. Okay, we're gonna move on to the next section. Is are you prepared for a relationship? Being prepared for a relationship is something that's really, really, really important. Uh, have you let go of the past and forgiven yourself and others? Because oftentimes we carry these invisible walls and barriers and baggage with us that we have not let go. And nobody's ever going to do me that way again. Nobody's ever going to treat me like that again. So what happens is you haven't let go things in the past. And even sometimes I find when we do, the thing about it is that I've had a situation where the person just talked about their ex and what their ex did to them and all this kind of stuff. And it was like, I know I got tired of hearing about their ex. I didn't want to hear any more about their ex. And it was not really, okay, I heard enough. And their ex did this and their ex did that. Telling me the good, the bad, and the ugly. And I guess that person was trying to say I was over it. But in reality, they might have been over it because they were out of it, but they weren't over it mentally and emotionally. And they were still tied to that person in some ways, which also brought up barriers for them being joyful with you. And one of the things you find is that oftentimes we are great relationship starters, but maintaining and finishing it, that's where the problem comes, because you're happy in the beginning, and then if you got baggage of the past, you start relating things to the past, and you're protecting yourself. You don't want to get too close. You don't want this to happen. You don't want to be controlled. You feel that you're responsible for various different things that no one put on you. You don't have to cook dinner. You don't have to make the other person smile. That's not your responsibility. It happens that when those things happen, but it's not a mandate of those things that are done. So oftentimes we try to do things to make up for that hurt, and we're bringing that baggage with us, and we don't even realize. And one of the things is that we haven't forgiven ourselves, maybe even for I gave up too early. That thing, I felt that one is like, okay, yeah, this was wrong. Yeah, that was happening, but I should have hung in there. Yeah, maybe you should, maybe you shouldn't, but sometimes abusive things are happening, and it's not the first or second or third time that this is happening. The other part is, can you physically handle the additional demands on your life, on your time? One of the things is that your time becomes their time, and their time becomes your time. And things that you had in your leisurely schedule of, okay, I can take a nap at certain time, and I can be by myself and in my quiet place and just look out the window. And now in the relationship comes that, okay, they're going to call at 6 o'clock, or they get off at 6 o'clock. Are we going to get together? Are we going to do something? That even that concern is pressed upon you, even if it isn't really asked for. And in a relationship, that management of time, or that understanding of how we want to do things, often isn't talked about. Therefore, it's based upon your impressions of what's a good relationship and their impressions of what's a good relationship. instead of it being talked out. And therefore, you have an understanding of, no, you don't need to cook me anything after work. I am too tired to eat. Or, I like to have that quiet time in the morning. I don't want to hear the news. I don't want to hear this. I don't want to know the weather. I just want to sit here and drink my coffee. And if you get up in the morning and be talkative a person, you guys need to come to a balance of that. And oftentimes those things aren't talked about. And then the energy level, as we talked about, the energy level. Your energy is going to be spread double. In other words, keeping up with the other person's activities, being there for the other person, and being there for yourself. These are some of the demands that are put upon you, what stretches your energy. Yes, I hear you. I can't handle the additional demands on my time. I know what you say and feel it. Sex when you're not in the mood. Now, unbelievable. People think, man, I'm going to be in the mood anytime they want to have it. Anytime they want to have it. Maybe you didn't get it before, but I'm saying I'm going to be in the mood now every time. That is ridiculous, because what happens is life goes on. As you mature, there's emotions that happen. They talk about prepping and talking about and prepping the day and getting ready, the mindset for it. But hey, something tragic can happen and destroy that mindset totally, that the other person doesn't know about. And maybe the something tragic that happens is you got to stand in a long line in the grocery store while the people in the front fuss about the price and where's this markdown at. So now you're in line an extra amount of time at 6 feet apart. You can't put your groceries up and those different types of things. So your mood is not ready for sex. When you said we were going to come home and have this candlelight dinner, and you got this stuff, you bought the candles, but you are no longer in the mood because of the hassle that went on in the line. And that's a strain, whether it's at your plan was after the 11 o'clock news every night or early in the morning before we get up and go to work. You're not going to be in the mood all the time. So those things that you have to consider, and not on that side, they're not going to be in the mood when you want it. So you have to even look at them, because sometimes the first thing people say, well, you ain't getting it from me. You must be getting it from somebody else. That is not always the truth. Sometimes it may be, but it's not always the truth. There's a mood, there's a tiredness. You want to give your best to your mate, and hopefully your mate wants to give their best to you. And you need to understand their moods. And this takes communication and understanding, cooperation, and those different types of things that oftentimes we don't put in the time to deal with in the relationship. And actually, we're going to talk about some things that help put that time and get that understanding, as I call my 40-day unity fast. We're going to talk about that later in the coaching. Okay, so now we're talking about do activities that weren't on your schedule. That thing I remember, what was it? We're going out with the people at work. My thing was I wasn't ready to go out with the people at work. Y'all came home. Yes, y'all had this big successful day, and everybody wanted to go out for drinks. And at that time I did drink, but it's like, look, I was planning to sit here and put my feet up and relax in my chair and look outside at the sky. But here's a demand on my time to take and do something else, to do this activity that was not scheduled. Okay, let us continue. Are you ready to share your personal space? Ooh, now this was one that I didn't really think about before, because I was just so happy that somebody loved me. But the thing is that, was I ready to share my personal space? It's sometimes like backing it up, you know. And being a writer, oftentimes you find that sharing your personal space, when you were writing and you were single and you were alone, it was like, uh, nobody's around or nobody's up. It's quiet. I can think. If I run into a block, I can go lay down, and nobody's asking you, well, what's wrong? You all right? How you doing? Can I come in? What's going on? Sharing that personal space is something that is really, really crucial. And if you're not ready to do that, and if you don't have an understanding and a communication of that, then it can be serious problems. Because I know for me, sometimes when I'm focusing and concentrating on what I'm writing and I'm receiving a word from God to write about, that if you come in and interrupt my personal space or my communication with God or being in His presence to receive that, I don't always respond pleasantly, and even sometimes the unpleasantness is not so much in what I said, it's the tone in which I said it. So, just those different kinds of things, that kind of thing, to share your personal space is a lot to deal with, and things that we really don't consider when we're thinking about a relationship and marriage. Are you emotionally ready to share yourself with your spouse? Are you emotionally ready to share yourself with your spouse? Now, that sounds a little bit like sharing your space, and it may be some, but emotionally ready, that means, am I ready to share when I'm feeling bad or I'm feeling good, or something has just really gotten me today, and I don't know what it is. I don't know how to describe it, and I don't want to share it with you, because in past relationships, I shared with the person and I was told, oh, that's stupid. You shouldn't do that. You shouldn't feel like that. Well, it's not stupid, because all emotions are real to the person that's having the emotion. It may not be founded on something that's solid, but they feel it and it's real. And when you share yourself emotionally with your spouse or with someone, it has the tendency, if you don't have that understanding, it either tears, distance you one from another, or it makes you closer. If you have an understanding, you're going to get closer, because it's like, wow, I can share with them. I'm comfortable with them. They don't condemn me for having, and they don't correct me. One of the things that you find with men is that you have the emotional problem. You're going this way, and they're busy trying to help you fix it. And it wasn't about being fixed. It was about you wanting to share what you were going through, and you just needed to vent it out, just needed to talk it out, just needed to talk about it. It wasn't about being fixed. And that's a hard thing for men and those people that are, say, entrepreneurs, female entrepreneurs, nurses, those people that are in those decision-making positions and jobs have a tendency to do in a relationship because everything needs to have a solution. And oftentimes, it's not necessarily to have a solution when you give your emotions, when you give how you feel. Number 5 here, mentally ready to receive others' input into your life. Ooh-wee, mentally ready. Now, sometimes because of what happened in our past, because of who we think we are, and I find that a lot of times, for men, it's there and it's there silently. And women, it's there and it's there maybe physically and vocally because they've been hyped up as be yourself, you are strong, you don't need anyone, da da da, and all of that. And men have that thing as I'm the man and I'm the man. But hey, can you receive that input? Can you receive that? That was great, but look at trying it this way, and it might be better. But you don't want to try it that way because you had your way of doing it. Now, can you let go and receive what was said? It might be better. It's kind of like one of the struggles that I used to deal with was not even understanding why my wife at the time wanted to go through down Reading Road versus going around Victory Parkway, which I liked because it was peaceful and serene, the beautiful trees through the park and all this. But she liked going down Reading Road because she could really see if her sister was home, if her car was there, and sometimes we'd stop by her sister. Now, that was not my understanding in the beginning. I'm thinking you're trying to control me. You want me to do things your way, but it wasn't really about that. But as we got an understanding, and, it's terrible to realize that, it was after you had a divorce that you got the understanding. But sometimes we don't take the time because we're resisting. It takes a lot of your time. Okay, number 6. Will you stand up for what's right? Now, I'm a great, or in the past have been a great people pleaser, and yes, I would stand up for what's right, but at the same time, I would just try to keep peace. Just try to make things okay. Not get in an argument. Say it's all right or whatever you think. Okay, we'll do it that way. And that type of not standing up for what's right or being what it's called, I was called passive aggressive. I was very passive about it, but then underlying, I was aggressive about moving in my direction. It's kind of like my mother used to say, you can be nice and nasty, yeah. Or even Khrushchev told people that being a diplomat was being nice and telling the person to go to Hades, and they would love going. So I was like, okay, yeah, that kind of position can come in. And standing up for your rights and moving into those situations is sometimes part of, you have to be, where are your boundaries? Know where your boundaries are, because that ability, that wanting to please people and compromising, it sounds good today, but it can come back to strangle you to death because you let that happen and you didn't stand up for your rights. 7, can you forgive and work toward a solution or compromise without bringing up the past? Now, one of the things that happens often in relationships, I found the person comes back with, yes, I forgave you. Yes, I had this going on, and you did this, and I know you're sorry, and I forgive you. And then 6 months later, they bring up, you know what you did on September 13th at 6 p.m.? You did such and such and so and so. And it's like, you haven't forgiven me? You know, if you're bringing it up now. And sometimes we use these little things to win arguments, to bring our point to uh, to the head, and also sometimes to shut people up because we're tired of listening to and them talk about whatever they're talking about. Whether it's something you did, you want to bring up what they did. And sometimes that has just been the way of, as we say, the street fighter, the kid fighter, the things that we did when we were young, and on the schoolyard. It's kind of like playing the dozens, and I know that shows my age, but playing the dozens was whoever said something bad about you, you were going to say something badder about them. And the whole idea was to get them better than they got you. And if you can't forgive and work toward a solution or a compromise without bringing up the past, you're going to be stuck in an endless time of disappointment, endless time of combat. And it's going to take away all that. You wanted somebody there to have sex with. You wanted a partner in your life. You wanted all this stuff that you wanted in your life. Being in conflict, being unforgiving, being rigid, and not seeing things from the other side, not working for a solution will keep you stuck in your relationship, never moving forward. And therefore, it's kind of like anything. When it's stuck in one place, it begins to deteriorate. Okay. Continuing with, are you prepared for a relationship? Spiritually, are your values those of God? And are you created by God? And are you created by are they created by you? Okay, I'll be all right. Need to clean my glasses. Are they created by you and based on past experiences? Sometimes we have godly values, but in other times we have worldly values. Or I used to say the values out of Essence magazine, to where, this month is Women Month, and this month is dealing with compassion, and this month is Domestic Violence Month, so your values are shifting each month. But if your values are based upon God, they are sturdy and stand no matter what's going on, no matter what month it is. One of the things that happens is, as your spiritual values, you need to consider, does the other person have spiritual values? What are their values based upon? Is it based upon Beyonce's latest song? Yeah. If you want to, you like it, put a ring on it, or, I don't remember the verse, do, but all those different kinds of things, what was the other one on? They packed up your clothes and they kicked them to the left, or whatever it was, something like that. I can get somebody else, all those different kinds of things, and let's move on to number 9. Are you committed to living by God's values daily? Now, this is a big one for both you and that potential partner, because sometimes we're often stuck in that middle where there's part of us who is committed to living by God's value daily. But then there's another part of us that if you step out of line, I'm going to put my tongue on you, and I'm going to tell you what it is if I think you're out of line, But then there's other people that's like, yeah, they're living God's value in front of you, but then let them get in front of another crowd or group. They're living something else. And that living God's value on a daily basis is something that you have to be committed to and they have to be committed to. And oftentimes, right there becomes a difference because people have different depth of understanding of what's God's value. If you're a Christian, one of the things that you've realized is that when you first became a Christian, your understanding is not the same as now as you studied and you learned and you've grown in Christ. But if it is, and some people, they may be still back there where you were and haven't gotten up to that point. So those are things that you need to discern, need to be concerned about with. Where are they in their spiritual growth? Are they equal to or greater than you? Because if they're back behind you, you cannot pull somebody forward in God. You cannot pull them forward spiritually. They have to take the time that God has set for them, that God has prepared for them. In doing that, God grows the person, not me, not you. I've tried to grow people, and it's like something's wrong with my soil. It needs some more fertilizer because they are not getting what I'm talking about, But I realize that God grows us, We may water and we may plant, but God does the growing. So, and just to look at that with that commitment, you have to look at yourself as well as understand where the other person is at. And then number 10 is your relationship with God, Christian practices, and godly character strong enough not to be changed by your marriage partner? Now, this part, unbelievably, most people say, oh yeah, I'm strong enough. But the enemy is so subtle and how he comes at you. I remember receiving comments like, you tithe too much. Why you put all that money in church? Comments like, I want to go do this after we get out of church. And that becomes something. And then later on, it's, can we go to the early service so I can do this? And then later on, it's, can we skip service so we can go do this together? And the point is, it you ease out of position. You ease out of your time with God. It's even when maybe you used to get up and early in the morning and do your prayers, and now they're just saying, can you just stay here with me a little while longer? And your emotions and feelings say, okay, well, that's one time. And then later on, it becomes more and more. And after a while, you're not getting up to pray. They don't have that understanding. They don't have that growth. And what happens is it slowly breaks down your connection with God. You don't have the strength or the power that you had before because you unknowingly and even trying to be pleasing and a good spouse, in a good relationship, you allowed your space to be kind of, what do they call it? Your territory, your boundary to be nipped at and nipped away over time. So one of the things that you want to consider is that where are my boundaries? Am I strong enough? What are my practices? And those practices needed to be talked about. That's one of the questions that we deal with later on, or maybe it's in the private sections, what I call the soul secrets, dealing with preparing for your marriage, is that you have to have that standard and that understanding that no one is going to break my routine. And if they do, we're going to discuss that, and you're going to replace it with something else. You need to say, hey, yeah, I'm going to church, or yeah, I'm doing Bible study, and even now when you're doing virtual, yes, I'm getting up at whatever time for my class, and I'm going to that, and I'm having that. Okay. The other is financially. Are you ready to share your income with another and with no unknown nest eggs? Now, some of us has learned I need to be prepared in case something goes wrong. Yeah, you do. But does the other person need to know about it? Is it a secret to the other person? Maybe the other person needs the help in that, having that special nest egg to go along. But oftentimes we move into the situation, we're not ready to share or have a joint checking account. We want to have our own and they have their own. And one of the things that I've always found, when you do that, you're creating a problem. Maybe even setting yourself up with that unsaid statement of, if it don't work, I'll just get out of it, and that's often said with people getting married. They don't say it to the spouse or that person intended, but you'll hear them say it to their friends that, shoot, if it don't work, I'll just get out of it. I got my money set over here, and then we put that for the bills, they ain't getting me, that kind of thing. So are you really ready to share your income? Does the two become really one, or do we have 2 plus 2, equals 6 or something like that? Because both of you got things on the side. Yes. Amen. You're absolutely correct. The other is, are you ready to set up a joint budget and be committed to it? And that is just a little different than sharing your income, because one of the things that I found in one of my marriage was we had a joint budget, but they weren't committed to it. It was like if they wanted to get something, what was it? Oh, yeah, this is the famous one. They go shopping, buy themselves a bunch of stuff, and then buy me a nice shirt or something like that to cover up that they did all this stuff outside the budget, because it was what they wanted to do, and it got to the point where the budget became very stressed, because you had to make up for all these shopping ventures and shopping trips that happened that were outside of the budget. But yeah, the money was there, but then the other side of it was, it became tight, but it didn't have to be tight, and the thing that became tight the most was that mental thing of, what are we doing? Where are we going with this? The frustration. And then if you wanted to buy something, then there was a problem. I've seen that happen, and it happens in different ways with men and women. One of the things that you find, women may buy, a dress, some shoes, or something like that, and that's, fine. And then men may buy but they don't call them Nintendos anymore. Or maybe they do, PlayStation or something like that. And they spend on their one item, they say, I only go out once in a while, but they didn't spend $500 on one item. And then you bought maybe six things and you only spent $150. And the difference of what's going in outside of the budget, those things need to be planned and understood, because yeah, there are the spur moments, yeah, there are those great deals, but you guys need to know how we're spending, what's going on. Communication has to be. And if you're sticking to a budget for a reason, maybe you guys wanted to take a vacation to Hawaii or take the trip to the Holy Land or whatever it was, and you're just thinking, man, these shoes really look good, or man, they got the new Nintendo 10 out, or PlayStation 10 or the iPhone, you can't get that and stick to the budget. And the other is, are you able to financially care for yourself now? Because if you're not, and you're coming alongside with that situation and putting that burden on the other person, that needs to be talked about, as well as what's your financial score? How do we look? Is coming together going to create a problem for us? How do we need to approach when we want to make major purchases? Yes, delayed gratification. Boy, I ain't heard that in a while. Well, maybe since 2 days ago when I said it. But I remember that used to be the one thing that was talked about when you first entered college, when I came out of high school. You don't hear it too much, but delayed gratification. And dealing with building your finances, but also delayed gratification in getting married or getting things in getting married. I find one of the things is people want to get married and they want to equip their house just like their moms. I want pictures on the wall. I want this furniture and that furniture and all this other kind of stuff. And they didn't listen to when their mom said, when I moved in here, all I had was this couch. You don't realize it took years for them to build those things up and they put it in place. But you want to go to Rooms to Go and buy the furniture, the plant, the rug, the tables, the chairs, all that for all, living room, bedroom, and dining room, and then you are strapped in debt for that particular thing. And getting into those financial bonds are extremely easy. And if you were keeping your own budget, if you were taking care of your own self, those are crucial. And I know sometimes people, they dance with their credit cards, and they have their credit card and they use it for different things, and they look prosperous, and then they say, well, I have all these bills and I need to do this and I need to get rid of some of these bills and that kind of stuff. Listen to why they are saying these things, because you may be thinking, hey, they make 6 figures a year, they should be doing all right. Or even if they make 5 figures a year and they just have this and they have that, you don't see them buying any clothes or anything like that. You need to understand, where is their money going? And even so, you need to understand where your money is going. So being able to financially support yourself is something that is very crucial. Oftentimes people are, as my mother says, robbing Peter to pay Paul, or something to Peter to pay Paul? I don't know. Maybe one of you guys know out in the audience. But the whole thing is that it is a necessity for you to do those things. Well, if in your homework, we went through 2 sessions, and your homework includes, I want you to list those 3 things in each of those segments, the top 3 things, and why you're getting into a relationship. The top 3 things, and if you find some that do apply or that don't apply, but if you find some that do apply that are close to what you have a concern about or something that you hadn't thought about, I want you to list those 3 things in the comments, and I'm going to send you guys a link to a special private page where you put those in. Other people don't see them. It's the pre-engagement coaching page, which is a private page, and I'll send you guys a link to that. So, and if you have any questions, you'll see a part that says put your homework responses here. The same thing in this section that deals, are you prepared for a relationship? What 3 questions or what 3 things kind of affect you the most? So be considerate of those things. And I am closing out for today. Tomorrow, session 2, we're going to deal with the 40-day unity fast. No negative conversation, no displays of anger, affirmations, undivided attention, pray and worship and study the Bible together, celebrate each other's gifts and talents. So we're going to be moving fast again. And I just want to thank each of you for coming today. And you have a wonderful and blessed day. And I will see you tomorrow at noon. Goodbye.